Alright, still trembling, Ordinary picked up his suitcase, turned his back on Familiar, and walked to the sign. And even though his fear kept growing, he shut his eyes and took a big step forward, right through the invisible wall of fear. And there he made a surprise discovery. On the other side of that single step, the exact one Ordinary didn't think he could take, he found that he had broken through his comfort zone. Have you ever been most afraid of doing the very thing you most wanted to do? I had that problem. It turned me back from my big dream time after time. You see, by the time I got through college, I knew I wanted to become a creative Bible teacher who could help a lot of people. That dream inspired me. But to accomplish my dream, I would have to stand up and speak in front of a lot of people. That terrified me. I'd get physically ill for a week before a speaking engagement. Then, when I finally got behind the lectern, I would hold on for dear life. Stiff with fright, afraid to move my arms, afraid to move at all. There I'd stand until I had sweat my way through to the last words of my message. Something had to change. I knew that if I was ever to hold an audience, I'd have to feel confident enough to move around the platform, use dramatic gestures, connect naturally with my listeners. As you probably imagine, my fears raised real question about my dream. Was I making a big mistake? And if I was pursuing the right dream for me, why did I feel so uncomfortable doing it? You can match my story to Ordinary's. I had embraced my dream. I had left Familiar, excited to be pursuing it. But soon I ran into a huge obstacle. Right there, by the sign that said, "Leaving Familiar," I hit an invisible wall of fear. And it stopped my dream in its tracks. It happens to everyone. You, too, may have taken a big step toward what really want to do, only to be surprised by a lot of uncomfortable feelings. If so, you still remember them. You felt anxious. You felt foolish and full of doubts. You felt exposed, weak, and incompetent. Maybe, like me, you felt so afraid it almost made you sick. Those feelings may have even turned you around and sent you scrambling right back to Familiar. What you and I experience is what happens to everyone who tries to leave his or her comfort zone. But I did get past my fear, and you can too. Let me show you how to understand what's happening and why, and how to step through the invisible wall of fear to experience newfound freedom. When cozy is a trap. When you think about it, a comfort zone ought to be hard to break through. After all, we have spent so much time building it. A comfort zone is our cozy quilt of relationships. It's the padding of routines that make us feel good. It's the security fence of acceptable behavior. It's the steel mesh of our past success and failures. Our comfort zone completely surrounds our life and Familiar, and it feels comfortable. Inside our comfort zone, we feel safe. We're pretty sure we can succeed, look good, and feel happy there. Outside, well, who knows? Outside everyone's comfort zone lies the great unknown. That's why we don't want to go there. Now, there's nothing wrong with a comfort zone. After all, no one likes danger and uncertainty. No one signs up for discomfort. Yet a comfort zone can become a barrier too. Why? Because our big dream always lies outside our comfort zone. That means we will have to leave what feels comfortable if we want to achieve our dream. Ordinary faced a choice. He could either feel comfortable but give up his dream, or feel fear and pursue it. You might think that if only you were braver or stronger, you wouldn't have to struggle so much with that choice. But every dreamer does, no matter how talented or brave. I will be with your mouth. When God described to Moses what he would have to do to fulfill his dream, the first step was clearly outside his comfort zone. "Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh," God said. I can see Moses now, stiffening with fright, reaching for a podium somewhere, anywhere to hang on to. "Who am I," he said to God, "that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" You can tell that he felt unworthy. Years before, Moses had committed murder, then fled the scene of the crime. But he also felt unable. "Oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." Do you identify with Moses' feeling of reluctance, fear, inadequacy? I do. Every dreamer I've ever met does. But the great news for dreamers is that our success doesn't rest only on us. It's interesting what it is revealed in God's answer to Moses. Moses was uniquely chosen for his mission, and Moses was also uniquely gifted. But what mattered more was that God promised to help. He told Moses, "Who has made man's mouth? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." Take a minute to write out a few of the objections, however convincing, that you've come up with for why your big dream plus your little you equals huge fear of failure. How many of your reasons assume that you're in it all by yourself? With that in mind, ask yourself, how might God reply to my personal concerns and fears? I remember a woman telling me she was afraid to go ahead with her dream when she let the word unworthy slip. I said, "Are you waiting until you feel worthy so you can begin?" "Yes," she said. My reply startled her. "Well, you aren't worthy," I said, "and you will never feel worthy. If you continue to wait until you feel worthy, you will never live your dream." At first, this didn't sound like the encouragement she had been looking for. Then a light came on and her eyes widened. What a relief it was for her to put down that false burden. Now she was ready to think clearly about her next step. You see, every big dream is initially way beyond your abilities and experience. We all feel unworthy and unable to do a big dream, but the Bible says, God has chosen the foolish things of the world to put to shame the wise, and God has chosen the weak things of the world to put to shame the things which are mighty. God purposely picks unworthy and unable dreamers like you and me. Now consider this. It's not really your feelings of discomfort, but what you think those feelings mean that determines what happens next. Breaking through the wall of fear. Do you remember all the unwanted feelings ordinary experienced on the road out of familiar? At first, things just seemed different. But the farther ordinary got from the center of familiar, the more his journey through his comfort zone made him anxious and afraid. Finally, he was overcome with fear and couldn't take another step. The closer we get to our own invisible wall of fear, the more fear we feel and the more likely we are to believe a dangerous misconception. Ordinary expressed it this way. But if I was supposed to do this big dream, then I'm sure we'd feel so afraid. Sounds perfectly sensible, doesn't it? But it's wrong. Belief that can trap a dreamer for years. Let's state the micro misconceptions more fully. Comfort zone misconception number 1. Since I feel fear, my dreams must not be from God. I can tell you from personal experience how powerful this wrong belief is. For many years, I kept asking God to expand my territory for Him. Looking back, I see that my prayer set a predictable but defeating cycle in motion. It looks like this. 1. Please say yes. First, I pray for a larger life for God. 2. Yes. He answered. His answer was to bring me toward my dream. But my dream was always outside my comfort zone, doing something I had never done before. 3. No. I said, I experienced discomfort, anxiety, and often genuine fear. But since I thought that if God was with me, I wouldn't feel fear. I would retreat back to the safety of familiar. 4. Why aren't you saying yes? I asked. The next morning would find me on my knees asking God again to expand my territory for Him. Do you see why I didn't make much forward progress during that time? There was an 18-lane freeway that started with me on my knees, led out to the edge of my comfort zone, and circled back again. And I could never figure out why God didn't answer my prayers. Think back over the times you have attempted to take a big step into new territory. When your fear increased, the further you moved toward the unknown, did you begin to doubt the wisdom of your plan? To wonder if your fear might be a message from God that you were off course? This misconception leads to a second one. Comfort zone misconception number 2. I can't go forward unless God takes away my fear. But you could take away the fear, ordinary cried out. Please take the fear away. If you don't, I can't go on. His request makes sense. After all, fear is a natural human response to perceived threat. From the inside where we're comfortable. Fear feels like a barbed wire barrier that we should always respect and never climb over. But while some fears, like fear of heights or snakes, can keep us from harm, other fears, like fear of new challenges or the unknown, will inevitably keep us from our big dream. In my experience, God rarely makes our fear disappear. Instead, He asks us to be strong and take courage. What is courage? As Ordinary discovered, courage is not the absence of fear. Rather, it's choosing to act in spite of fear. You could say that without fear, you can't have genuine courage. When you do act in courage, you discover that fear doesn't have to stop you. You see that what you thought were your limits are more like starting points. The longest short walk of my life. To take courage, you have to decide to go forward anyway. Do you know how I finally took courage and faced my deep fear of speaking in public? One Sunday, when I was scheduled to speak in a small church outside Dallas, I brought along some black tape. Arriving early, I marked 2 spots on the platform 10 feet away from each side of the podium. Then I asked my wife, Darlene Marie, to sit in the front row and signal to me whenever she wanted me to step through my wall of fear. She did not shrink from her duties. I had no sooner grasped the podium in a death grip and started to sweat than she nodded toward the tape marked to my left. That was my cue. Could I move? Would I move? The mark on the floor seemed miles away, but I had decided. In the future, my dream hung in the balance. And I did move. Just a minute, folks, I said. At that point, I could walk and speak at the same time. Then I left the safety of the podium for that black tape. It was the longest and most awkward, unpolished, and panic-filled walk of my life. But my dream was waiting for me. As soon as I reached the mark, I started speaking again. But now I felt a surge of freedom. Without that podium to hang on to, I found I could actually move my arms, make gestures, lean toward the audience, keep their attention, and actually enjoy myself. Now I knew the secret. I didn't have to be afraid of my fear. I could step through it and keep going toward my big dream. Is there a place in your life that you have run away from like I did for years? Are you just a few steps away from the dream you want with all your heart? Then you need to make a choice. Decide you will stop retreating from fear and step through it instead. Write down your decision, post it, and don't throw the note away until you have taken the first step. That step through your wall of fear is a huge step towards your dream. Conversations with the Dream Coach. I have been fighting my comfort zone issues for many years, but I finally decided that I just couldn't do it any longer. Is it ever okay to choose our comfort? Victoria, Toronto, Canada. No one is meant to live under the stress of breaking through their comfort zone day after day. But I invite you to ask yourself, why is there such a tug of war over breaking through the comfort zone in my life? You may never have identified who or what it is you're fighting against. Your struggle with comfort zone issues reveals something important. You really do desire your dream. Otherwise, there would be no struggle. You're motivated to get in motion, but your desire to be comfortable stops you. So at this point in your life, comfort is the biggest enemy of your dream. There's nothing the matter with wanting to be comfortable, but ultimately, dreams are to help someone else. Comfort is to help yourself. One day I realized that my desire for comfort was the enemy of my dream, and that ultimately my desire for comfort was rooted in my selfishness. Unfortunately, many people in all walks of life end up making personal comfort their dream. But it is a false dream because comfort turns into a prison. How? The more you turn away from your fear, the more you believe that your comfort zone is home. And the more time you spend there, the more you become convinced that because you haven't stepped through the fear, you can't. But let me encourage you, never think that since you're struggling, your dream must not be important, or that you're a second-class dreamer. Just remember that there's no way for any of us to get to the place of our big dream without leaving our recliners. I have broken through my comfort zone in key areas of my life, but I keep finding new areas that I have to deal with if I want to live my dream. Does this discomfort ever go away? Ken Narboya, Kenya. The truth is this: there's always a new comfort zone waiting in your future. You will arrive at many thresholds of discomfort and fear in every dream. Then, when your dream expands, like ordinaries did near the end of the parable, you can expect a whole new set of challenges. Fortunately, each time you break through a comfort zone, the air of your comfort increases. You become comfortable with more and more things. You could stay there, of course, but a dreamer is a person whose life is in motion. That black tape on the platform was really just the beginning for me. The next threshold was the next larger church, and then the next larger conference center after that, and so on. Then came the day when I asked to speak to 80,000 men in the Potomac Silverdome in Detroit. Did I face fear again on that new edge of my comfort zone? Of course. But with the encouragement of friends, the provision of God, and my decision not to run away from my fear, I broke through the barrier. Hitting the scary edge of my comfort zone again and again proves that you're a dreamer on the move towards your dream. I tell motivated dreamers that if they're not encountering a comfort zone issue regularly, something is wrong. Maybe they're stuck in familiar again. Maybe they need a check their pulse. An advanced decision. You know, it's one thing to wonder what you're going to do next time you face fear at the edge of the comfort zone. It's another thing to have already decided. You will immediately benefit from clarity and energy and focus on pursue your dream. My life changed that day. I decided to never again run away from my comfort zone fears. When you think about it, stepping through fear is a small price tag for a big dream. That one step that we face many times in our lives must be the universal price tag. God had in mind, I think, God wants to know whether we really want the wonderful gift of His dream in our life. So will you make the same commitment I did regarding the comfort zone? Will you commit to never again running away from the wall of fear at the edge of your own comfort zone? Imagine what your life will look like when you have broken the bondage of fear. You will spread your wings in new ways. You will feel the strength and peace you need to accomplish great things. You will move among people and situations with confidence and grace. You will touch many lives in powerful ways, and you'll never again retreat from the future you really want. Your dream can look that good, and it will. All right, everybody, my name is Jeffrey Jansen. That was Chapter 9 of The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. That was Chapter 9 of The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. I will paste it on my Facebook page. Tomorrow, we'll be reading Chapter 10, Unexpected Opposition. That'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow is Chapter 10 in The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, Unexpected Opposition. If you scroll down my page, you can see my daughter Gracie reading The Dream Giver for Teens and what chapter she is on. Okay? I let her read the one for teens. She's a 9-year-old and she's doing great. And I read the ones for the adults. And we're on Chapter 10. Okay, everybody? God bless you guys. I hope you all have a great night. The next book I will be reading after I get off here, I still have the next chapter to read of the next book. I'll show you real quick because I will stop this, then I'll go on. We are on Chapter 2 of the Motivation Manifesto. And then for everybody, one of my friends that speaks Spanish, I am doing my best to read the Dream Giver in Spanish also. But I post it all up there what I'm reading. So I hope you all having a great night. I will talk to everybody soon. God bless. Hope you all having a great night. Love you guys. Bye.